All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started now. First off, I'd like to thank everybody for attending our session today, J.D. Edwards Self-Service Reporting in BI. For Business Objects, we're also going to show Crystal Reports and some Lumira. I'm the founder of the company, Adam Krieger, and I'll be walking through today's session with you. If you do have any questions, we'll be tackling those at the end. So you'll notice in the GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar panel, if that's taking up a big portion of your screen, you can minimize that with the arrow in the upper corner. But there's also a Q&A panel, and you can go ahead and post your questions there in the questions, and then we'll tackle those at the end. The agenda for today's session, again, just a brief overview of Preferred Strategies, Business Objects, our BI QuickLaunch for J.D. Edwards as it relates to Business Objects. Dive in, and most of our time will be in live demonstration. And then we'll come back and talk about the implementation timeline. And then we'll tackle the questions and announce the Amazon gift card winner at the end. So just to start, who we are. Preferred Strategies has been around since 2002. We focus on reporting and analytics, specifically for J.D. Edwards, but we focus on market-leading software rather than building our own software from the ground up. So we'll kind of point out in a minute, but if you're familiar with Gartner, looking at that leaders quadrant and the magic quadrant of Gartner, if you do follow Gartner research, that's kind of the area we focus on. We do have a data quick launch. We had this is our 4th webinar of our 4-webinar series. So if you didn't attend our first session, we talked more about the connecting to J.D. Edwards with our data quick launch and kind of changing the flavor of the JDE environment to be more business friendly. That's what our data quick launch does. We also support real-time transactional reporting and analysis with our Direct Connect with a suite of database views that reside on top of the J.D. Edwards data. We can also help customers offload data to an operational data store, kind of mirroring that data, replicating it. And we also have a star schema data warehouse for customers that want the data warehouse in place for their analysis purposes. So that's on the data side. And then we've got what we call our BI QuickLaunch, which we're going to show you today for Business Objects, which is modeling and reports and templates that are specific to a reporting tool for JDE. And so this is where we're going to show you Business Objects and our accelerators for Business Objects. We also had a webinar we did on Microsoft and BI Publisher in the last week as well. So if you want to get the recordings for that, just reach out to us and we'll be happy to send those over to you. And then we provide a variety of services to help customers get up and running quickly and starting to use the software effectively and efficiently. So SAP Business Objects, Business Intelligence. Again, this is the magic quadrant from February of this year, and analyzing pretty much 2014 BI. And so really what we suggest is, if you're going to be looking at tools, focus your efforts up here in the leaders quadrant. I mean, that's where you're going to find the solutions that are most equipped to kind of meet all the needs that you have today as well as that you might have in the future. Those are the technologies that are most innovative and have the biggest budgets for R&D, and so those are the softwares that are going to be more robust than anything else. A big driver in the past was ease of use, and so I think a lot of these tools have evolved into making their capabilities much more easier to use for the business. So we're focusing on SAP today, which you can see here. And what does that entail? What we really like about SAP Business Objects is it is the market share leader. So I think they have nearly, more than 23 some odd % market share, and they are, from a covering the span of use cases from reporting, business query, and ad hoc, first, discovering data, dashboards, displaying stuff on a mobile device, and a managed platform for all of reporting and BI and analytics. This is one of the softwares that we definitely like the best. What drives a lot of what you're going to see today is this concept of what's called a universe. And a lot of these market-leading, top-tier BI software vendors have this metadata or semantic layer that you can translate the underlying data that they're connected to into business-friendly terms, and that's kind of what BusinessObjects kind of started and founded this concept with what they call a universe. And again, it's this way to kind of allow users to be able to grab a source of data and drag and drop elements into a canvas without understanding the true complexities of the underlying data that they're connecting to. And that's what the universe does. It also provides a kind of that single version of the truth. So if you're building a report off a universe or an ad hoc query or a dashboard or exploring your data with a data discovery of Lumira, the results for revenue across all those is going to be the same. So that's kind of a universe, and that's kind of the strength of the BusinessObjects universe. Really drives this software as a great offering for JD Edwards customers. What we've done at Preferred Strategies is we basically built out these models. We've got 30 some odd universes for JD Edwards across 13 modules. We also have a suite of reports, crystal reports and templates and samples to kind of accelerate customers' ability to get information out with the software against JD Edwards. So everything that you're going to see in the live demo today is going to be showcasing our accelerators for JD Edwards using BusinessObjects software. A lot of people ask the question, kind of where does Preferred Strategies software or Preferred Strategies begin and BusinessObjects end? And it's really, if you look at the capabilities, we're going to be logging into the web portal of BusinessObjects, dragging and dropping elements. All the functionality that we're going to do in live demo is all the software. Everything already tailored for JD Edwards is where we come in. So when you take any of these BI softwares out of box and just start connecting to data, you're going to have to go ahead and model data, create calculations, create the friendly names, build all this stuff out. And so if you see anything that looks and resembles JD Edwards in any way, that's really our BI QuickLaunch from Preferred Strategies. So the live demonstration, we're going to start on the reporting side. We're going to focus kind of on three main areas. We're going to start from reporting, so crystal reports. We'll show you how to manage some financial reporting, so like income statements and balance sheets, if you want to explore options around that, and how you can deliver managers with interactive drillable reports. We'll show you some of the scheduling and distribution features, as well as some packaging. So maybe you have a board package of reports that needs to be blended together, 5 or 10 different reports that need to be packaged up and delivered, and we'll show you how you can do that here. Then we'll kind of, that's more just as a manager or a consumer, really not building anything new, just interacting with reports. And then the second is with some ad hoc query, where we'll be actually dragging and dropping elements into a canvas and kind of building out our query. That would be with what's called web intelligence. And then the third is data discovery with Lumira, where we'll actually show you more of a true data exploration, where you can kind of create visualizations and dashboards on the fly. So all of these three things that we're going to show you here, interactive reporting, business query, data discovery, are really, I think, what drives business user self-service BI. And so that's why we want to kind of cover all this. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to another screen here. So we're going to log in now to BusinessObjects. This is the BI Launchpad. So I'm going to happen to log in here as the CFO. And so you'll have different users, and because this is a full, robust platform, you can create users and groups of users, and you can create different rights associated with the users. So if I'm a consumer, my rights of what I can do may be limited intentionally, Whereas if I'm a business analyst, I might be able to build my own queries and do more than just a standard consumer, and also what I have access to. So if I were an inventory manager or a distribution manager, maybe all I'll see is inventory, purchasing, and sales. I wouldn't see any of the financial related folders. So you can control access to the data as well. So the first thing we're going to do is, it had default as this user, the CFO, the general accounting folder. So you will see some reports over here. Let's just kind of show you some reports. These happen to be some of our BI QuickLaunch reports, but also the functionality of what you can do. So if I take this income statement, actual plan, just right-click on that, you'll see some options: view, view latest instance, schedule. I'll go ahead and choose view here. This is going to run the report on demand, but before it can run, it says, okay, there's parameters associated with this report. So if we go here and choose June, maybe I want to group this at a consolidated level. I can then group it by company or business unit later on if I want. What are my columns? I can actually have it fill year-to-date actuals and then all my remaining columns for the 12 months being maybe a remaining budget. I can pick a specific department or business unit if you wanted to set up some type of additional filtering. So we'll choose OK here. And so right now what it's doing, it's querying JD Edwards and returning back the results to the canvas. Okay, so now at that moment in time, when I hit the refresh button, based on whatever my parameters I selected, that query was rendered and returned back this data. And until I hit the refresh button again, this data will stay static. If I want to update it now, I just post an entry and want to see the results, I can hit the refresh button. It'll automatically go out there and retrieve the latest data from JD Edwards. So a couple things to note on this panel. We can go ahead and look page by page and see the results of the data. You can also export if you want to export this to maybe a different format, like a PDF or Excel. So other type of value for some purpose, you can do that. We can go ahead and print from here. But the other thing we can do is if we click here on this little parameters or prompt panel, we can also change these on the fly. So now if I say, well, let's take a look at, I want to run this through September, and instead of looking at our year-to-date actual remaining budget, I just want to look at my actual. And maybe instead of consolidating this up at the highest level, I want to see this group by company. Okay. So if I go ahead and choose those parameters and choose apply, you'll see some changes here. So where these were year-to-date actuals and remaining budgets, now they're all actuals only through the period that we've selected, in this case September. So that's where we have values through September. Well, actually don't have any maybe values in September. And then we've got the remaining would be blank, the total year actual, and then you can do an average. The other thing is if we've grouped it by company and we go in and choose this little group tree, it's a quick navigation panel as well. So if we want to go look at another company, I can click on a company and get the results for that that company and so forth. So that was, again, by just choosing view, it'll run the report on the fly, get me the result. Maybe I answered the question I had, I printed it, I exported it, I just viewed it, got the what I was looking for. But when I close out of this window, nothing is saved to the report. So when I close that out, basically that's gone. If I want to regenerate the data, I can go ahead and right-click and choose View again, and then it'll actually show me, well, like it did, prompt me for the parameters. If I go down here to the consolidated report, there's actually a, let's have this report has already been run. And typically when it comes to a lot of these management operating statements, someone in finance typically will be responsible for running the reports, and then the manager will just come and view the report that's already been run by finance. So not every manager is out there running their own reports. So if we go ahead, but we want to see the latest running of a report that's already been run, if I just choose View Latest Instance, it'll grab the latest one that had been generated, let's say in this case by finance. We can increase our zoom a little bit. Okay. So just like before, we had this group tree. So if I wanted to look at this company, this is a consolidated P&L, actual budget, variance, quarter to date, year to date. Got my traditional rows. If I want to go directly to maybe a business segment like industrial, I click on that, it'll take me right to that page of the report and give me that summary, or maybe click on a specific underlying level or branch or something else. So by just navigating through the group tree, it'll take you directly to those locations of the report. And these are, you could have, we have some customers that have, 7 layers deep of this organizational hierarchy, and some only have 1 or 2 levels deep. But these are one of the reports that we do map to your row hierarchies and your drill down. We'll show you the drill down here in a second. But you can also do things like, here's a traditional P&L, more of a consolidated look. If I go over to page 3, this is now a consolidating P&L. So now we can get those business segments as maybe different columns and get our traditional rows. So you're not forced to just keep, one format within a report as well. The other thing that these reports can do is be very interactive. So if I wanted to see under labor straight time what makes up this $3.9 million, I can drill into that line of the report. It'll break it down by, in this case, market segment or something. I can drill into, let's say, industrial. It'll take me down to the business unit or branch or what have you. Okay. The other thing you can do, and we can drill all the way from that, but let me pick something that has some better sample data. If we go in here to, let's say, our corporate admin business unit, you can see here for rent expense, I'm over budget for the quarter by, $1,700. And I want to find out what's the cause of that. If I drill into that, if there were different accounts or, and if there are subledgers or something that makes up the difference, those would be listed. In this case, I've just got one account. And I'll go ahead and drill into that. You'll notice when I mouse over, it says click to view the transaction detail for rent expense. So if we click on that, it's now going to take us and pull a live drill against the general ledger, passing over the values of that time frame, that account. And again, you could have 100 million rows of data in JDE for the general ledger. Because of the way that we link to that and pull these reports, it'll be that fast. So customers with tens of millions of rows of data on their general ledger still get these drill type reports in a matter of seconds. So we actually can see here on the general ledger transaction for rent expense, Allen Supplies, there's $800 for a storage unit rental. Has a check been cut yet? Or what was the discount on that? We can go ahead and drill into that invoice detail. It'll pull up another quick report on top of the accounts payable detail. So here now we can see our AP. Here's a check number. Here's some details about the discount. What's still open on the purchase order. We can kind of drill it down to the purchase order detail. So in all these drill paths are all part of our out of box with our BI QuickLaunch for JD Edwards. So that's a way that we can navigate. I'm just going to click out some of those tabs, get back to our main report. And just like we had the other report that we showed you some interactive nature here, we could do the same thing. So if we go back to our page 1 here, what if we wanted to see this instead of quarter to date and year to date actual versus budget, but maybe we want current period and year to date, year over year. Okay, so we can select that and choose apply. And you'll see here, it's automatically on the fly going to dynamically change some of our columns in our report. So these parameters can do a variety of different things. They could change the filtering of a report. They could change your grouping of the rows of a report. They could change the columns of a report. So you have the ability to build a lot of this interactive nature that really drives that self-service. So that's one of the key elements of self-service reporting in BI is interactive reporting. And I think that's kind of what we're showing you here. So we looked at the view. We looked at the view latest instance. If we go up here to, let's say, our balance sheet, and we go and say, instead of view latest instance, we can do a schedule. So this is where a user can go out there and schedule a report to run and have it saved with an instance with the data in it. So I can come back and view that at a later date. It's almost like that report run at that snapshot in time based on whatever parameters have been selected. So we look at the recurrence here. By default, it'll be now. We can also choose things like weekly, right? Pick maybe every Tuesday and Thursday we want this report to run. So you kind of set a calendar, recurring calendar, or pick your own custom calendar. I'm going to use just now for the default. If I go to my prompts, so I've got year, period, I can select those and change them. I can go in here maybe to pick company, and I'll just put in one specific company. I'll just key in. Okay. Choose OK. And then if we go to formats, so before with the interactive reports, they were a crystal format, and this report does have drill down. So if we run this as a crystal report format, we can drill down from our balance sheet down to the general ledger transactions. But you can also just have it run automatically to another format, let's say like PDF. Okay, so I'll have this run and render to PDF. If we go to destinations, we can go ahead and choose a default enterprise location, which would be this web portal. We can also go and choose email, and so we can specify who we want to be the recipient of this email. And the nice thing about, and this is now a balance sheet, this is, most companies would be very confidential information. So one of the nice things about this is that rather than, and you can send out as an attachment, you can see here, we could send out this PDF, give it automatically generated name, or give it our own name, you know, picking out the title, the date, you know, the username. But you can also send something out as this viewer, which in essence will send out a URL. And so if a user doesn't have access to where this report resides inside of BusinessObjects, they'll get a message saying you don't have rights to view this report. And so one way to kind of keep sensitive reports from being sent out via email and then forwarded to the wrong person. Okay. So for now, we'll just go ahead and choose default enterprise location, but you can go and send something out to an FTP server or on your network or somebody's inbox. So there's some different options for how you can distribute the reports. So once you've gone through and selected your different pieces there, we'll hit the schedule icon, or schedule button. This is going to take us to that history screen. And so you'll see here the status says pending. And we hit refresh, it'll go to running. And when it's completed, it'll actually go to success. Okay? You mouse over to kind of tell you how long the report took to run. And then if you click on the instance time, you can go ahead and it'll open up that report right there for you. So this, and if I come back tomorrow, right? So if I didn't have this open, and I came back in tomorrow and right-click on that balance sheet and choose history, it'll take me right back to this queue of all these run reports. So a lot of companies, when it comes to financial reports, might save one report out there per month for the last 18 months or something like that, or one at the end of each year for the last 5 years. So it's a nice way to kind of keep that historical view for managers to be able to go back and see what their financial results were. The last thing we're going to do around the financial reporting here is looking at this financial reporting package. So if I right-click on this and choose View Latest Instance, this is where we've actually taken, let's say, a handful of reports and packaged them together. So we've actually got like a balance sheet, consolidated income statement, an open AP report, open AR report, income statement summary, and then it's all blended together in one PDF, or we can actually view the individual reports as their own PDFs. If I go ahead and double-click on that, this will actually open up. Let me go back here to my the table of contents, where we can go in and actually page 1, if I go back to page 1, there's actually a table of contents here, and I can navigate from that. And when I send this out, if I were to send this PDF, they would have this full PDF with a table of contents as well. And we go ahead and navigate. So if I want to go directly to the page of the consolidated income statement, it'll take me to that page of the report, or maybe my open AR report, or my open AP report. So here's how, again, it's a nice way to kind of get that package of report. And then these also can be bursted out. So let's say I've got this report that needs to be run and sent out to 12 different board members, each of them kind of responsible for maybe a different area that they look after. And so it'll just send out just their pieces, and the CFO might see everything. So you have this nice ability to kind of burst out the data as well. Okay, so that was the first thing we wanted to cover in the demo, was more of a financial reporting, interactive reporting. Let's take a look at maybe the next step, was more of a business user ad hoc query. So in this case, I'm going to take an existing query and we'll make some modifications to it. And so if I take this report and just say modify, this is now using what's called Web Intelligence, which is BusinessObjects web-based business query tool. I'm just going to open up this interface. So this is where we have a kind of a blank canvas to start from. We've already selected a query with some of the objects from a universe. When we do the data discovery, we actually will build kind of a query from scratch, and you'll see kind of how we interact with the universe and grab data. So if we go and these objects on the left, again, are all, some are category codes, some are different elements associated with the customer or the invoice or the item. And then you'll see the right, we've got this table. So we can actually just drag from the left. So let's say I wanted to see my sales year over year by product or product group. So if I grab product group and just drag that to the right in this table, it aggregates the data for me. So there could be a million rows of data behind the scenes here. It's going to go ahead and aggregate them to show me one row for whatever dimension we grab into our canvas. So go down here to our extended amount and grab current year, year to date. I'll drop that right there and look at our prior year, year to date. I'll drop that to the right. We can click on one of these, and then you'll notice here under analysis and functions, we're going to insert a sum. Okay. So now we can get the total of current year versus prior year sales. And then you say, okay, well, what if I want to see that not by product group, but by customer? So if we go here and grab our customer and just drag that and throw it right on top of our product group, it'll swap those out. Now we can see our total year-over-year sales by customer. What if I want it by customer and then product group within each customer? So we can go back and grab product group and bring that back to our canvas. Instead of replacing it, I'm going to just put it right to the right. And then it'll actually, you'll see here, it creates one row of data for each combination of customer and product. What if we want to group it and see, a grouping of data? So if I right-click on, let's say, our customer and choose Set as a Section, it creates a section on customer, and then I've got this block of data. And I can go ahead and take this block of data and drag this to the right. Okay. And we can just right-click on that block of data and choose Turn Into, and I can turn that into a column chart. Okay. That's an example of how you can then see graphically data in the same query as our table. Let's add, for instance, let's say we want to look at a calc that's the variance between our current year and prior year sales. So there's these different variables, and so within the tool, there's a very robust formula editor. So inside the universe, what this is based off of, you've got all the data relationships with the tables and some calculations and aggregation and dimensions and measures defined in the universe. And that's one place where you can centralize logic, and then a business user at the report level or the query level can build their own calculations. So if I just right-click on variables and choose New Variable, let's go ahead and we'll just call this variance. Okay. And we can make this, is this a dimension, is it a measure? This is going to be a measure. And we're just going to take our year-to-date, expand this box a little bit. We'll grab our current year, year-to-date extended amount, and I'm just going to subtract out my prior year, year-to-date amount as well. Okay? And then I can go ahead and just check this. Formula is correct, choose OK. So now we've got down here with our variables this variance amount that we just created, and we can go ahead and drop that in to our canvas. Okay. Okay. We can also go back by just dragging that into our footer. It'll give us a total there too. Okay. We can go up here, go to Format, Numbers. Maybe we want to make these. Okay. Do the same thing here. Okay. So this is one tab. We'll go in here and we'll call this, sales by, customer and product. Okay. We can also, if you think about this as if it were a spreadsheet, right? So we've got different maybe elements in our query. If I right-click on this block or this tab and choose Duplicate Report, it kind of creates another tab, almost like if it were in Excel. And doing the same thing. In this case, let's say we want this by maybe sales rep and customer. Okay. So now if we go and grab our sales rep, so we can go find our sales rep here and just drag that right on top of our customer there. Go find our customer, drag that right on top of our product group. Okay. Now in this case, maybe we want to see this chart. Maybe instead of a bar chart, we want it to be a pie chart. Okay. And instead of assign the data, maybe looking at by product group, in this case we want to see it by customer as well. Okay. So now, again, you can create these different tabs. The nice thing about this tool, what it does is when you refresh this data, it queries the data once and allows you to slice and dice this data that's been returned to your canvas a variety of different ways. Okay. So once you go in and want to, let's say, save this report back out, and maybe it's a query that I want to run every month, we could do that. Before we do that, though, we can go here and edit. Let's say I know that there's other elements from the universe I want to pull in for my analysis. I can choose Edit Query. I can go grab from the universe. This is, again, Preferred Strategies Pre-Built Universes for J.D. Edwards. Any elements, if I want to see something by state or region, I can just drag that into my result object. I can add something to my filter. You can also add a query. So this is, you could be pulling one report on sales, pull in another query off another universe, let's say for inventory, and another one for procurement, and merge the data together where there's common ground. So maybe on the business unit and the item, customer, what makes sense, you can go ahead and do that. So that's, let's close that. So once we've gone in and we want to do a save, we could actually save this right on top of the current query. We could just do a save as and say, okay, where do we want to save this? In this case, we'll save it right back to the same folder. We'll just call this demo on the end of it. So this is now a query that we built. We saved it back, and then I could come back in here, let's say next month, here's the report. I can right-click and view it. I can schedule it. I can modify it just like kind of, so you're not having to recreate. So a lot of people spend hours a month exporting stuff into Excel, massaging it there. With this, you can actually build it one time and just hit the refresh button, enter your parameters, maybe a through date, and get your results. Okay. So that's the ad hoc. The last thing we were going to kind of show you was the data delivery, which is what's called Lumira. So I'm going to go ahead and open up SAP Lumira. And we'll go ahead and just build one of these from scratch. So with data discovery, there is some people think of self-service BI as being purely data discovery. Again, I think it encompasses more than just that, kind of the ad hoc business query as well as interactive reporting. So here, if we wanted to go ahead and create a whole new document, right? So I open up the tool, desktop client, hit new document, and we'll go ahead and grab a universe. So we'll select our universe here. It's going to make me authenticate with the system. Again, just confirming what universe we want. Yep, I'll take that one. Oops. And hit next. Call it sales analysis, that's fine. And so this is going to, again, we're connecting to a universe. And so whatever elements have been defined in that universe, in this case, again, it's also over sales data. So we'll have, customer information and go to our sold to, maybe we want our sold to name, we want our state, country. We go down here to, let's say, some address category codes, maybe our channel, our region, sales rep. Go down to, let's say, sales, looking at our product group, subgroup, and product. we go in and we can pull just in the sales, extended amount, gross profit, quantity. There's also these time-based calcs. So inside the universe, there's already this innate, we built in the logic to prompt for a through date. And based on that through date, we can calculate things like today, yesterday, week to date, month to date, quarter to date, current year, prior year. So if we go to extended amount, current year, year to date, just double click on that and look at our prior year, year to date. We want to do the same thing for gross profit. We want to bring our current year, year to date, prior year to date, and maybe quantity ordered. Current year, year to date, and prior year to date. You can go in and grab an element as well. So let's say that we want to go to our order information here and grab our company and filter down on our company or something. So we can grab company, just drag that into our query filters. And we can go to pull up a list of values. We can make it a prompt. And we'll go out there and find what are the available companies for me to select. So we'll grab our company, choose OK. We can also add another filter as well. And you also have in the universe predefined filters. In this case, we've already got some time-based filters that calculate year-to-date, quarter-to-date, month-to-date. Here's year-to-date last 2 years. So we can go ahead and just drag that in. We can change things, nest some ands and ors in our filter and so forth. So once we've got the items that we want, we'll hit Finish. And one of the strengths about this, we're about to put a through date because we have, okay, year-to-date through which date. So I want to make that be my through date, hit Next. So right now, it's actually, through what I've selected from the universe, it's created a query that's hitting the database and going to return that back to my canvas. Okay. So now we've got our data, okay, and now we can say, okay, these are what you've selected, and let's go ahead and start maybe getting something into our canvas. So let's say we wanted to see a bar chart by product group. So if I go ahead and drag product group, and we want to look at our extended amount. All right, so that's our year-to-date extended amount. Maybe look at comparing that to our prior year. Okay. We can also go ahead if we want to see that maybe, again, as a column chart instead of a bar chart. We can do that. We can go ahead and hit plus. Maybe we want to see our total sales broken down by customer. So I'll bring in our sales. We'll bring in our customer. And instead of seeing that as a bar chart, maybe we want to see that as a donut. And now we want to go ahead and see that with values displayed, show data labels. Okay. Let's go ahead and add something else. Maybe we want to see let me get back to this guy here. What if we want to actually see that, we'll duplicate this. So we can actually copy one visual and then slightly change it if we want. In this case, maybe we want to trellis this by channel. So we go find our channel and drag that into our rows. You can see here how we can actually see each of our channels and the breakdown. Maybe instead of trellising that by rows, we can drag that into columns. Same kind of thing, how you can kind of get different visuals of your data. Let's go back here and look at, what if I want to see something by geography? And if you have a hierarchy of geography, let's say country to state to city, in this case we've got our country and our state. So if I go ahead and just click on this gear next to the country, I can create a geographic hierarchy by names, and we'll select country, and for our region we'll grab our state and choose confirm. It's going to go there and say, okay, these are your countries and these are the states. Here's what's been resolved as viable states within that country given the data. So we choose done. Okay. So if we want to take this tab, and I can tab the different types of geographic charts, but in this case I want to do a geo-pie chart. Okay. And we'll look at dragging our geography in there. Okay. And we'll look at this by our maybe gross profit. and I need a second color because it's a pie chart. So maybe we want to see our pie charts based on product group. So we've got there one pie for the country as a whole. We'll click on that. Let's take a look at it by region instead. So now we can kind of see that geographic pie, and just mousing over, it'll give us the values for each of those, and the different size pie given the different amount of gross profit. The other thing you can do is if we go back to our chart here, right? This was by product. Right? If we wanted, let's say, create a product hierarchy and then modify this, we can go ahead and by just clicking on, let's say, on like our product group, click on the gear, we can create a custom hierarchy. So we'll call this, and maybe we want the values to be a product group, product subgroup, and product. Okay, and we'll give this a product hierarchy. Okay, and create. So now what we can do is replace our product group with this new hierarchy. So now when we do that, if we wanted to go ahead and we click on any of these values, right, we can drill, let's say, look in mobile and drill down, and actually drill into the chart. Now I can see mobile broken down by, you know, the different categories that we've identified. Okay, so you can drill down, drill up. So that's how, again, you could do some drill. You can also do calculations here as well. So here we brought in gross profit, dollars, and extended amount. But what if we want to create a gross profit percent calc? So we go in here and we can create a calculated measure. And we'll call this gross profit percent, current year, year to date. We'll grab our gross profit current year to date divided by our extended amount year to date, and choose OK. And then on any of these values that are there, we can go in and just change the formatting. So in this case, we want to see this as a percentage, maybe with 1 decimal place. So if we go now, since we have a gross profit, we can also do things like maybe look in something on a multiple axis, combined column line chart, or actually maybe 2 axis. So we want to pull in maybe our gross profit, and we want to look at our gross profit percent maybe as a different axis. And let's pull in maybe, in this case, our sales rep. Okay. So now we can go ahead and right-click on those, show data labels. And then the other thing you can do, which is nice when you're going to do these kind of visualizations and you put all this together on a dashboard at the end, is the kind of these ideas of kind of some key metrics. So in this case, we grab our key metric here. And this is where you're just grabbing one measure. So look at like total revenue. You can just drag that in. Okay. You can duplicate that. In this case, we want to be looking at maybe our gross profit. Okay. And maybe looking at maybe our gross profit percent. Okay. So you kind of build these individual visualizations, and this also kind of covers some ad hoc. That might have already answered the question that you had in just kind of grabbing some data, seeing it, you know, slice and dice differently. But you, as we walk through from left to right, so prepare was when we grab what we needed from the universe. The visualize was kind of where we can kind of create our different visual elements. And then we can go to the compose tab, and we give this a story. We'll call this sales analysis. And we can kind of create some different templates. So they have kind of some things already set up if you want like an infographic or a slideshow or just some values or some text, or we can make a blank template and hit create. And at this point, we can actually now, we have this blank canvas, so we want to make sure we put a title at the top. We can grab our title and call this sales dashboard. Okay. We can go to our visualizations here and say, what if I wanted to see maybe my bar chart? And we can go and say, let's, on this bar chart, let's go ahead and not show our legend. All right, let's go ahead and add our pie chart next to that. Okay, we're going to do the same thing. Maybe get rid of our legend there. And we have that geography down here. Let's go ahead and drag that down into the canvas as well. Okay. And then there's also these input controls. So to make this more interactive, we can go and grab, let's say that's a product group, and just drag that into the canvas here. We want to make this maybe a list box instead of a combo box. Okay. Let's go ahead and maybe add our customer name. Make that a list box as well. Maybe go back and add our channel as well, or region or something. All right. So you kind of build these. You can add a different page. All right. So if we add a page and say, okay, in this case, I want to be based on this standard template instead of a so you can go, you'll see here they've got like some templates. So now we've got this as our, sales by product. And it just kind of gives you the places where to drag and drop the visualization. So in this case, again, we go here. Maybe in this case, we want to do these little key metrics. We can go and grab the value, change the size. Okay. And maybe look at, so we got our year-to-date sales. I don't have to belabor this anymore, but okay. So again, to preview this, so again, as a user, we can go ahead and go back here to our page 1. Okay. And so again, making these interactive, we can kind of mouse over, see the values. If we want to look at maybe just Costco as an example, we can click on Costco. It'll give us just our breakdown of just purely Costco sales. I want to look at Costco, Sam's Club, and Sears. Right. So we can kind of interact with the data. So this is how you kind of build. And then once you're done, you can save this back to the BusinessObjects platform. So I'll do set file. I'll do a save as, and go to the SBBI platform, connect. And this is where you can then navigate to a location where you want to save this. And we'll call this like sales dashboard. And give it a second time, we're not going to be able to go out there. But you can then now view that in the web, right, within the platform, just like the other reports that we were in earlier. You can schedule it. So you can have this be recurring. You can email the link to somebody to call it. So just another example of, let's see. Let me go back one more time. just to really show another flavor, and then we'll switch over and wrap up with some questions here. We've had some people ask the question because they, these data discovery tools, can you use these for financial reporting? It's a kind of a different animal. You can do is use them, just a different way of getting your kind of key metrics or your financial results. It's not going to be any way like a traditional P&L. So if your users are used to kind of seeing their current financial reports, expense reports, their balance sheets and income statements, this is not the right tool. But for the users who are not familiar with that, these actually can be very beneficial as an avenue to kind of get a quick synopsis of data. So if we go here and look at, here's where we've kind of taken some general ledger information, and we can see here's our revenue, here's our gross profit, overhead expenses, net income. And if you think about, you normally would have a P&L for each division or business segment or subdivision. So we're going to look at just healthcare here, right? We click on healthcare, it creates an automatic filter. So now I can see my financial results with the key metrics, which is my total, my revenue, my gross profit, net income, what's the different flavor for each of those, looking at just large hospitals. Right, so this is where you can get to some numbers very quickly and efficiently. So for some users, this is a great complement to what you might do on a traditional financial reporting example. So I wanted to show that. Let's go ahead and we're almost out of time here, so let's wrap up. Okay, so the implementation timeline. So normally to get the business objects installed and configured, takes about a day or two to install, configure the software, typically run on a virtual server. So we kind of follow the best practices around that, get that set up, and we get your users and groups and folder structure and everything in place. And then to map the universe takes 1 to 2 days to kind of get all those universes mapped, and then the same thing with the report templates and samples. And we didn't show you much of the reporting outside of financials today, but if you're interested, we can cover AP, AR, sales, inventory, procurement, manufacturing, HR, payroll, enterprise asset management, job cost. We've got a lot of heavy-duty content out there for you. So that's kind of within a few days. So really within a week's time or so, you can kind of get this ball rolling here. So once again, I want to thank everybody